Okay, so file extensions, compressions, and compression types. Um, I'll be using this image right here. Depending on what camera you use, um, I think you told me that you shot it and you got a CR2 file. If you got a CR2 file, chances are that you got a JPEG file with it. One way that you can check what kind of file types you got is you can just right-click it, go to Properties, and right in the type of file it'll say JPEG, CR2, PNG, TIF, whatever it may be. And you can actually check what file type it is if you go to your Start menu, Control Panel, Appearances and Personalization. If you go to your Folder Options, hit your View tab, and then this option right here says Do Not Show Hidden Files, Folders, or Drives. Right underneath it, Show Hidden Files, Folders, and Drives. So in other words, this is going to give you the extension for every file that you have on your computer. You want to uncheck that because you do want to see your file types. So then you'll have, right here I have a CR2 file, a JPEG file, an XMP file, I have TIF files, um, more JPEGs, bitmaps, PNGs. So just so you know what kind of file you have. Alright, so in Photoshop, if you open up your CR2 file, it actually opens it up in a separate window, which is a camera raw, depending on what Photoshop. I think you're using the newest beta version, so I'm not exactly sure how that opens it up. But it opens up in a view similar to this one. Now in this view, it's pretty much just a preview, and you have some simple like exposure controls. And with this, you can actually change the exposure, which is the advantage of using a CR2 file. It gives you a lot of data that you can work with before you start editing, and eventually you'll end up compressing that file to whether you want to send it through an email, put it on the internet. So you never want to save out this image and say put it on the internet. You always want to save out a compressed version, because for one, this file right here is only at 16.3%. You never want to save a file that's so huge that you're never going to want to zoom in to 100%. So you're going to want to save it out as a lower resolution and at a compressed state. So do what you got to do in here. I'm not going to go ahead and do any kind of editing. So you go ahead and open the file. It'll open it up in Photoshop. And at this point, once it opens up, it's not any kind of file format. If you try to save it out, it'll default to a PSD, which is Photoshop document. Now when you save a PSD, what you're saving out is you're saving out a document that has all your editing inside of it. So actually, when you are done editing here, you want to save it out as an actual image file format. So let's say we want to say you're going to want to put this on the internet so that somebody could see it. So you don't want to have something huge. You want to have something small. It's easy to download. Usually JPEGs are really popular. When you save them out, you will have the option of, let me rename this. Alright, say I want to save it as sphere. You're going to get this pop-up window, and it's going to give you options of what kind of quality you want to have. The highest quality being a number 12, lowest quality being number 0. Now, of course, the higher the quality, the larger your file size is going to be. The lower the quality, the smaller your file size is going to be. Now, I'll show you an example of a high and a low quality of the exact same image. Now, I already went ahead and saved these out, so I'm not going to save them out. This is the high quality at 100%. So you can see it's a huge file. I zoomed it into 100% right to this corner so you can see the artifacting that's going to occur once you save a lower quality version. So again, this is at 100%, and this is high quality JPEG. This one right here is the same exact image at 100%, and except that I saved it out at a low quality. And you see the difference? You can kind of see the gradient over here in this area. It kind of gets really blocky. You can see the steps of the different colors. The low quality is really bad, really blocky, and the high quality Has a nice gradient, good quality. Now the thing is, with the different file formats, it really depends on what you're trying to go for. The most common kinds of file formats are JPEGs, BMP, which is bitmap. There's PNG, which is photographic network graphics, I think, and then you have TIF. There's two different kinds of file formats and compressions. The first one being lossless, and what lossless means is that when you save out an image, regardless of how big the file is, it's not going to compress it. So you're going to have very good quality. You can have the same quality that you got when you first shot your photo. So PNG, GIF, and BMP will always give you 100% quality, but they're also going to be very big files. The next kind is lossly, which means that you're going to lose detail in your images. And for the most part, the most common one is JPEG, which is the ones that I just showed you right now. And then there's one more popular format, which is TIF, a TIFF image, which could go either way. It could either be a lossless or a lossy, depending on what kind of compression you go for. I don't really recommend that one because they're hard files to open up. Not every program opens it up. So if I were you, I would stick to JPEG if you're trying to upload an image to the internet, if you're trying to email it, and if you're trying to keep as much information as possible, as much quality as possible, and you don't care too much about the file size, I would recommend either BMP or PNG if you want high quality and you don't care too much about the file size. So I'll show you the actual file sizes. I saved out BMPs and PNGs. I didn't go ahead and do GIF because I don't really care too much for it. As you can see, I saved out BMP at a 16, 24, and 32-bit. You can kind of see the file size on the side. The 1624-bit, they give me 52,000 kilobytes, while the PNG gives me 18 kilobytes. All right, and that again, that's lossless. That means you are keeping as much quality as possible from your raw image. And we have lossy. I did one in high quality, which was this one right here, and then low quality, which was this one over here. And those were high quality being at 7,662 kilobytes, and the low quality, which was 132 kilobytes. But as you can see a difference in the quality. And of course, the smaller the picture, the more you can see the resolution. So what I did is I actually went ahead, I took this image and I pretty much just down-resed it. The resolution right now, I think this one's the camera that I was using is a Canon 60D, which was 18 megapixels. And the megapixels pretty much is going to be the resolution of your image, how big it is. And as you can see right here on the bottom corner, it has 18.33%. And that means that's how much I'm zoomed in to the image. So let's say that I don't want to have this huge image where 100% would be this much zoomed in. You know, you're not going to need that big of a file if you're going to be putting it on the internet. So what you can do is you can actually down-res this. Now say I want to save it out exactly how it is here at this file size, this resolution. If you look down here, I have it at 20%. So I'm going to go ahead and resize this image at 20% of what it is right now. So if you go to image and you go to image size or Alt-Control-I, you'll get this window. Currently it defaults to pixels. If you change it to percent, you get to pick at what percentage you want to resize your image. So right now you're obviously at 100% because that's what you're starting off at. And we want to go to 20%, which is what we have down here. So we go to 20%, we'll OK that. Now this is at 20%, so if you put this at 100%, this is actually 100%. It's the most that you can zoom in without losing quality. And now if we go ahead and save out the same image at a high quality, we'll actually get a fraction of the memory usage. So the high quality, the very first image that I took out of my camera at a JPEG was 7,662 kilobytes. Now I saved out It's the exact same thing in high quality, except this time I down-resed it 20%, which is what I did over here. And I actually got only 289 kilobytes. So you can see how much memory you save just by down-resing the image. And then I did the same thing for the low quality. The low quality originally was 134. Down-resed it to 20%, bumped the compression all the way down. I only got 34 kilobytes. But if you look at it, you can see the compression it's horrible. It's so blocky that you can't even make out what it is. The more you zoom in, the worse, the more bad that it looks. So pretty much, if you're trying to save out an image, you want to stick with JPEG because you have more control of what kind of file size, what kind of file compression you're going to have. If you're going to be putting these images on the internet, definitely go JPEG. You don't want to be you don't want to have an image so big that people that are trying to look at it are going to have to spend a minute just for the image trying to download. You always want to keep your CR2 file, because your CR2 file is your master image. From this image, you can do you can edit it. You can go back. You can change the exposure on it. You can change you can actually change the f-stop after the fact. If you don't have information on the CR2 file, but if you go on the JPEG file, like I said, when you shoot a CR2 file on your camera, you'll get a JPEG image with it. So if you actually go to your properties, right-click it, go to your properties, and in your details, you actually have all the information of your camera when you shot the image. So at this image, I shot it with a Canon EOS 60D at an f-stop of 5.6. The shutter speed was 1/60th of a second. ISO was 250. It even shows you the setting that it was on. It was on aperture priority, auto white balance. It gives you everything. So if you ever want to know, what you shot it at, you want to know the specifications, you always want to check in your properties of your JPEG image, not your CR2 file, because your CR2 file doesn't give you any of that kind of information. Alright, and the last thing is that you probably want to know is don't confuse this. You don't want to confuse this percent down here. You don't want to confuse this number with the actual size of your image. This number down here is just your how much zoomed in you are into your image in your Photoshop document. Okay, so currently I'm looking at this image at 100%, 106%. I moved it a little bit. That's at 100%. Now, if you have an image, your CR2 file, and you open that up, you're going to have the same image. What's going to look like the exact same image, only that it's at 16.67%. So it's a huge file. It's a huge file. The more you zoom in, the more detail you're going to see. But that's only because you have such a huge file to begin with. So again, one more time. When you have your CR2 file, open it up, save it out. Of course, you want to keep your CR2 file. You want to change the image size, which is in here, pixels, percent. Change 100% to, I don't know, I usually keep it at around like 50, from 20 to 50%, which is still a pretty big file. Change it, 20, save it out. You want to make sure you're looking at 100%. Save it out. Say you want to do JPEG. Save. Compression. It gives you a live view in the background. So at quality number 12, you're going to see that it's still very good quality. If you bump it all the way down to 0, you're going to have a very blocky artifacting going on in your image. So since you already down-resed it manually to 20% of what it originally was, I would keep the quality at 12%, which is the maximum. Save it out. And now, instead of having a 22,000 kilobyte image, you now have a 289 kilobyte image that you can now upload to the internet, email to anyone that you want, and you will not have a problem downloading or uploading the image. All right.